Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. In our last segment, we were trying to take out the majority of the dents on our 2012 Ford Fiesta quarter here. So let's see where we're at. But first, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button below, like the video, comment on it. Yeah, comment on it. What am I screwing up here? Let me know. So we've gone off camera and gotten the paint stripped off the quarter here, done a little more massaging of the panel here just to try and get it a little bit closer for getting some filler on it. So let's see what we've got. So like I said, the paint is off. I've thrown in some rope under the window trim here so I can tape under here when I mask. I do not want to take off this window if I can help it. So you should be able to just roll some tape under here, prime it, and you're good to go. Everything else here is pretty well prepped. And you can see a majority of the dents, short of a little bit right here, are pretty much where they should be. I did take my contour gauge against the driver's side here. And all in all, it lines up really well through here. There's, of course, you're gonna know there are some inconsistencies, and that's what a little bit of fill is for. So let's go ahead, get some mixed up, and throw it on. Alrighty, we've got some good old 3M filler here to mix up. So I'll go ahead and do that and just start slopping her down on the quarter. Alrighty, here we go. Now, somebody had given me some flack in one of my Challenger videos that I should be flooding the entire quarter and then sanding down. Well, that's a lot of material. But we're going to try and get to a happy medium here, because I know I've got some work to do. And I've also got a small spreader because my large one somehow is damaged. Alrighty, well there's step one. I've got to let that dry, apply some more. I just don't have a huge tray for mixing up on, and I don't want to have too much mixed up where if I have to suddenly stop for something like a kid, it's going to go to waste on me. So we'll go ahead and get the rest of this area flooded with our filler, let it dry, then we'll come back and start knocking it down. What's up? Somebody told me to flood the whole quarter panel with filler, so that's what I did. And now you've caught me sanding, which I'll be doing for quite a while yet. Anyways, we've gone ahead, flooded the whole thing, and we're going to sand off probably 80% of that into a nice little puddle down here. So what that means is I'm going to go back here and sand for a long, long time. I've got 80 grit on my linear sanding block. I've got a soft sander as well because this is more rigid block, and some of these contours like down here is not going to work with this, so I'll have to get something a little more pliable. Let's see here. Oh look, Challenger fender. Here's something a little more pliable, you can see. So for some of these contours in here, it's a little better suited. There's kind of curves on the edges of it. I've got 4 or 5 different contours of these too. So between those two products, we should be able to get most of this sanded off. I did already come through with my DA with 40 grit and knocked down a lot of the high spots. So we've got a good starting point. And basically it's just going to be working my blocks along all of these areas here and smoothing it all out as best I can. This area is still a hair low, but I could not pull it out anymore without buckling other areas around it. So this is going to have probably an 1/8 inch on it when I'm done. I'd like it to be less before skim, but that's what it's going to be, I guess. So otherwise, we're going to keep sanding away here for likely the next hour or two, just taking it nice and slow. And hopefully we can do this in just one coat of filler, with the exception of that one little area here that will need one more light coat before we do our a little bit of guide coat and skim. I want to at least get it to that point so I can prime it. And then once we've done that, once it's primed, we will go ahead and put some more guide coat on it and see if there are any other areas that are needing attention before we prep it for actual paint. Now, it would be nice to get this primed because I've got 3 panels for the Challenger to prime up as well. And that would only leave us with actually grab the front fender for this thing. And that only would leave me with the 2 plastics to prime and paint for this car. So those will have a little different mixture in the paint since we do want to have some of that flex additive, I believe, because they are the plastic bumpers. I have to double check they are already painted, so I'm not sure if we scuff them up, if I want to put that, I don't think I need the adhesion promoter since we're already painting over paint versus the bare plastic, but I don't know if we need that flex additive or not. So comment below, would you use the flex additive on plastics that have already been painted from the factory, or would you just use your standard mixture as you're painting anything else for your base and clear? Let me know, because I don't know that. Anyways, the furnace just kicked on, so that's my cue to put the other headphone back in, turn you off for a while, and go back and sand. Alrighty, we've spent way too much time sanding, but here's what I've come up with so far. So you can see we've got a filler on there, nothing I'm gonna hide there. This is the only area that really had more than I wanted to, only because it was a little concave versus convex. But like I said, if I tried to pull this out anymore, it was starting to warp other areas. And I said, that's the end of it. At the end of the day, it's a $750 car. And it's not a Mercedes, it's not a Ferrari. It's not gonna get $5 grand for resale. So I gotta make the decision to move on to something else, because whoever gets this car, it'll likely be good enough for them. Point A to point B, to car, to groceries, to daycare, whatever the case may be. They're likely not going to be concerned about every detail of this quarter panel being perfect. But that being said, it is very close. I've got our contour gauge here. Let me show you something. So I've got contour from the driver's side. And here it is on the passenger side. Very, very close. Let me go move you to the other side. Right by that front door, and it's super close. I mean, there's a little bit of an area right here at this contour. It's not perfect, but again, you're never gonna be looking at both sides at the same time. This area back here, let's take a look. Let's see what we look like back here on this contour by the light. Up a little bit. A little tough to do with one hand, but that'll work. If we look at over here on the passenger side, it's just a hair off right there. But again, you're not going to look at both sides at the same time. And like I say, for an inexpensive vehicle, it's going to be just fine. And I've put 8, 9, 10 hours of sanding into the silly corner and filling, and I've just got to cut that loss and move on to something else, which is going to be reassembly and painting. So we're going to come back in the next segment here, because we have an entire painting melee to go through. Priming up this quarter here. There's tons of Challenger parts. to get done, but I need to move on to something else. Springtime's coming. I'm going to be more apt to go back out to the auctions when it's not 20 below zero out. So I need to move on to the next thing. That being said, you know, I could have found another quarter panel, chopped the whole thing off, grafted it back on, but again, you're looking at probably $300 minimum for one, and then all the time to take out the glass, take out the interior, take out all the spot welds, the seam seal, yada, 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 cut it, patch it, fill it, weld it, seal it, prime it, paint it, put everything back in. So, you know, either way I look at it, I'm gonna be 10, 15 hours minimum in just this metalwork in this corner before paint and primer. But that being said, that needs primer. We've got a bumper that needs primer. I ordered the rivets for this bracket here. I've got the new bracket coming. So that gets replaced. We've got our bumper, like I said. We've got our front bumper to get primed and painted. We've got our other front fender here to get primed and painted. Those are all ready to go. And that's gonna leave me with this little spot here, which may just get a little touch-up paint, and the little crease right here. Which leads me back to, you know what? I could blend the door, I could fill that dent in, I could try and pull it out, make a big mess, spend another 10 hours on that. And the same thing, there's a tiny little dent right here. I'll probably paint this and blend just this a little bit here. But again, as someone who's gonna be buying this car, gonna be concerned over two small little dents in the door that are pretty invisible. You know, if it's gonna be a Mercedes, a BMW, you know, a brand new Chevy pickup, that's a different story. But this, it is what it is. It's not a luxury car. It's not perfect to begin with, and it's gonna be safe and reliable. That's the important part. Most people, I think, if they would have bought this from themselves, they would have gone and punched out that dent from the inside with a hammer or the football or a 2x4 and just driven it. Because honestly, it didn't look too bad as it was just with the dents kicked out. My problem is that I'm a perfectionist and I want everything to be perfect. And there were a couple of areas where the paint had started to chip off from those dents. And I didn't feel like just doing a little bit of prime and paint, because that's kind of the halfway out if you ask me. That all being said, I mean, I even went to the effort to make a template that goes around this here to make sure when I was working the metal, I came back and kept this contour, because there's a little bit of a edge here. I got carried away, I admit it. So for now, we're gonna close this one off, come back with the painting parade. Need it to be a little bit warmer. Again, it was pretty cold earlier this week. We'll see. I'd like to have it, you know, not a 50-degree difference between the garage here and outside. I've got my exhaust fans, but I'm gonna be pulling in, you know, outside air. So I don't want that to be freezing cold and have a giant difference in temperature between the nice room temperature paint material in cars to pulling in 20-degree air. That's just not gonna work well for the paint. So we are kind of at the mercy of the weather on that. So we're just gonna wrap this one up, put a bow on it, and remind you to hit that subscribe button below if you haven't. And we'll come back with this or the Challenger. Maybe I'll bring the 52 up here and start working on those rocker panels again. Or maybe I'll get a wild hair to go out to an auction site and hunt for another BMW for me. Maybe time to upgrade from the X3. We'll see. Probably not. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch y'all real soon. Bye-bye.